Well, hello everybody. Oh, it's really dark in here. Hold on. We just... There we go! Now we actually have some light. And that's not the video that you guys wanted to watch. Let's move that over to there. Boom! Alrighty. So, how's everybody doing today? I know that it's an interesting day. It's a very interesting day. Because today I was determining on what I wanted to stream about. My initial thought was I was going to stream about LifeSite news, which is a wonderfully screwed up website. We're going to go ahead and move this over here. However, so before I get into LifeSite news, though, I wanted to go ahead and do a few things. I wanted to go ahead and first of all say, how's everybody's Monday doing? I know that Mondays are kind of a shitty time of the day, or shitty time of the week, rather. So hopefully today is not going to be that bad for anybody here. As for who G4 is God, Guns, Guts, and Glory. I've done 2 live streams about him, and then 1 clapback video, I think. Something like that. Something silly. So, yeah. Anywho, I'm gonna be doing a few things throughout this video. The first thing is I'm going to be laying out a little bit of history. So, my history with this person is they started a blog a long time ago, and they made a blog post about how LGBTQ people appropriate words, apparently, and took the gay from the happy people, and then made it about them, which, considering that it was a pejorative before, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Words change meaning. What are we supposed to do? However, I did a video responding to that where I basically said over the course of, 2 hours, words change meaning. They're not axiomatic. Deal with it. That's pretty normal. Yeah, no, G4's American. He's very American. But after I did my video, he had a lot of comments on the first 20 minutes of the video. He didn't watch the entire thing because, of course, watching the entire thing would be too terribly hard. But I have a bottle of Tabasco in my hand. Don't ask why. I have problems. I need help. So it turns out, though, that he saw the video and made a bunch of comments on it. So I responded to those comments in a video and then did a blog on him because he decided, or did a live stream on him because he decided to do a vlog where he called, or a blog where he called me a pedophile. And I know that when he says that, he means child predator. He doesn't just mean like an MAP. So, yeah, no. I decided I was going to go ahead and do a response to that. So, that all said, now that we are caught up on the timeline, I decided to look at his blog to see if I was going to cover something he did instead of covering LifeSite news today. Turns out he made another blog post about me. And it's an interesting blog post. Very interesting blog post. What better way to celebrate 1776 than to do some target practice? And of course, who's the person in the target practice thumbnail? Hi, it me. No, G4's not something new. This is God, Gun, Guts, and Glory. This is the same guy. This is the exact same person we've been dealing with this whole time, except this time he decided to make a video showing how much he wants to shoot me. And of course he has the obvious thing here. Notice any likeness to the target sheet used is purely coincidental. Plausible deniability like this really only works if you're not using a screenshot of my face and you didn't have history with me. But you do have history with me, and it is a screenshot of my face. MAP stands for Mind Attracted Persons. It's a medical condition that we're still trying to figure out why the fuck it happens. So, let's take a look. Let us take a look at his little video that he has done. And this is about one of the only things... This first part of the video is going to be very brief. Dealing with God, Gun, Guts, and Glory is not going to be the entirety of this video. because there's really not that much to deal with. And I can't take him to court yet. I cannot. So, of course he has these uploaded to BitChute, because BitChute is the cesspool of the internet. So, let's go ahead and play. And of course, there's my face there. Looks like he just shot me in the chest. I guess I die. And he missed. He got my nipple. And he missed again. Dude's not really a good shot. He's really not. Hey, he got my hand. I guess I can't, I guess I can't fap anymore. Oh, dear. So, what do we learn here? Well, first thing we've learned is that apparently G4 does not have the ability to speak in any type of elevated conversation, because his method of elevating the conversation is to put my face onto a thing and fire a gun at it repeatedly. I have apparently upset this 55-year-old man enough to take the time to print out a target with my face on it so that he can shoot it and take out his aggression. And I do understand that there is a level of irony to be had here with a man who claims to hate gay people but literally spent time and money to blow a load on my face. But we're not here to talk about that. For 20 from Dreaming Clouds, it's Mr. Gagag, not G4. Are you okay, drag worker? So, however, I'm not here to talk about this for very much longer, because I decided that, well, me and Aaron both decided, that maybe getting in contact with a police officer about this would probably be a good idea, to maybe see if there was a legal line breached in this. And it turns out that no. With a caveat. So apparently what he's doing here is, as far as we can tell, completely legal. But there is a caveat in that something like this actually does create a bit of a paper trail. So it's one of the reasons I'm documenting it here, just in case he ever feels the need to take this down off of his channel. It's still here on mine. And I have it. And he's not going to be able to get rid of it. It's going to be incriminating for the rest of his life. The whole reason that I'm doing this and showing this here is for two things. One, so that the paper trail is here, so that if he does decide to do something incredibly violent, he can't hide behind plausible deniability. He literally has a thing that has my face on it where he fired a gun at it repeatedly. This is the reason that I have a security system. So, the other reason I've done this is because I want to let it be known that this is the proof that activism works, at least in some capacity. Because it would not upset people like this so much if it did not have at least some impact. And it is having some impact. The impact is that obviously, at the very least, I've managed to waste, $10 worth of bullets from this guy and a sheet of paper. I mean, that's at least a small thing. That's a small inconvenience. But truthfully, it means that I get to live in this guy's mind rent-free. I have no problem living in this guy's head rent-free. It's excellent. You have someone fake killing you from what you've said. How's it feel? That feels wonderful. Shall we download the video as well, just in case he somehow gets it taken down? If you guys want to download his stuff just to make sure that we've got a paper trail run, then that's fine. I'm not going to try to mobilize you guys. That's not my thing. There are other YouTubers that might mobilize their audiences, but that's not a thing that I do, so you do what you want to do. It might be rent-free, but it's kind of empty in there. No real furniture. Yeah, but I get to furnish it with all kinds of things, like anime. So, anywho. Let's take a look at the comments section here for fun, and then we will move on to LifeSite. We have from Jason here. And we see demonstrated the inability of the NIFB cult members to actually engage and discuss a topic. If they can't just scream about things they hate without anyone questioning it, then they are left with this. Comical, of course, and at least it's easy to tell when they have nothing left to offer, so it's actually a great post. Thanks. Thanks, Fatboy Sean. I guess the guy's name is Sean? I wasn't aware. Lee here says, actually, we've already walked all over your sorry asses so many times that we only have this left to do. Oh, really? Is that the case? Because that sounds kind of awkward. I really don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that. Drugworker says, I really hope he doesn't do anything more drastic because you're a good person and definitely don't deserve it. At the same time, this person has demonstrated that they have nothing but that to offer. Yeah, fair. You know, we've already spoken to the police. We've already done that. We're currently in the state that what he has done is considered borderline, and if he does anything else, then this is part of a paper trail that can actually get this person in trouble. Anywho, really, Jason responds, and how exactly have you walked all over our sorry asses, particularly when all you can do is scream? Support for LGBT rights are increasing all over, the number of non-religious people is increasing, pride events are bigger and bigger, oh, and 2,000 years of your made-up Jesus still hasn't returned, and most of your kind are living in trailer parks. So this is getting into a lot of ad hom and not actually, like, terribly substantiated. I agree with the core of what Jason's saying, and that support for LGBT people is higher than it's ever been in, you know, human reported history for the last, like, 2,000-ish years. However, it does happen to be that we do have a problem, and this leads into the LifeSite news thing. And of course, G4 responds with, actually, pervert, while the lying, controlled media, appeal to conspiracy theory, makes it appear that support is growing, the real-world support has actually begun to decrease over the last several years. Yeah, that's neat. So this is not actually an untrue statement, awkwardly. In people aged 18 to 34, there's actually been a bit of a drop in support for the LGBTQ. And that drop has actually coincided very cleanly with the rise of trans issues, non-binary people, stuff like that. As these things have come to the forefront of conversation more often, people are starting to regress a little bit because support of LGBTQ people, classically, even though we know what the acronym means, the acronym includes trans people in it. It includes anybody who's queer in it. We do know that that's what the acronym had in it anyways, but there are people who still think that LGBTQ just means gay or just means bi for some reason. So when they're asked the question, hey, what if your doctor turned out to be LGBTQ, they would go, oh, well, that's neat. I don't care who he has sex with. However, what if the doctor turns out to be trans is a thing that has come up in that conversation now, and so the answers have shifted slightly because trans awareness is definitely rising in the United States. And I think that trans awareness should rise in the United States. But there is a bit of a backlash happening as a result of that, and I'm hoping that we can do something to combat that, because just like how gay people are people, trans people are people as well. And there are people who don't seem to get that. So, where does this tie in? Where does this tie into everything? Well, it ties in right about here. This is LifeSite news. Now, I don't know if any of you are actually familiar with LifeSite news, but LifeSite news is a very far, almost extremist, right-wing political website that uses that to skew practically every article they write. So, and the question is, how do I know that? Have I done any research into them? Have I looked at all of their articles to determine what side of the political spectrum they fall on? Yes, actually! Here we are. Media Bias Check is a wonderful website that allows you to figure out if something is extreme right, extreme left, or wherever it happens to sit in its politics, so that you can determine whether or not the website that you're looking at has any type of agenda. So, let's take a look at the history of LifeSite news before we get into the article. Classically, what I'm doing would be normally considered poisoning the well. However, I do not have any intent to misinform here, so I don't think that necessarily counts as poisoning the well terribly much. Okay. History. According to their About page, they're a non-profit internet service dedicated to issues of culture, life, and family. The website was founded by the Campaign Life Condition, which is a Canadian political lobbyist organization founded in 1978, based in Toronto, and advocates for socially conservative values. In addition to its initial goals of passing restrictions on abortion and euthanasia, Campaign Life Coalition advocates for what is described as traditional family values, including opposition to same-sex marriage and age-inappropriate sex education. Cool. They are owned by the Conservative Campaign Life Coalition, are funded, according to their About page, as LifeSiteNews.com, and it depends primarily on the donations of readers to maintain its free service. It also has a paid advertising program. In review, LifeSite News primarily reports an anti-abortion, anti-gay marriage, and pro-evangelical Christian issues. An example of a pro-Christian story can be found here: why being Christian means traveling with Jesus from Bethlehem to Calvary. It also has a favorable opinion of President Trump. Okay, how Trump brought Christmas back to America. Oh boy, are we going to have to get into multiple articles today? Editorially, every single story is right-leaning, such as this story, that also sources non-credible sources such as Rush Limbaugh and CNSN News. In general, story selection favors the Christian right and denigrates the left. A factual search reveals that LifeSite News has failed a few fact checks. Target is donating $100,000 to promote gay lifestyle in school children, mostly false. Parents in California are not allowed to pull their children out of sexual education classes, mostly false. The proceeds of Girl Scout cookies are used to support Planned Parenthood, false. Considering that the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts are also typically right-leaning organizations, of course they would not be used to fund Planned Parenthood. What the fuck? Overall, we rate them as right-biased, based on a story selection that always favors evangelical Christianity, and mixed for factual reporting due to a few failed fact checks. Updated in 2019 as of 20 days ago. Whew! Alright, so this is what we're dealing with as far as the website is concerned. Let us move into the website itself. Let's move into young people pushing back against transgender nonsense has LGBT activists alarmed. So first of all, I can already tell an issue by not including the Q. That generally tells me that there's going to be an issue with this article. Because you make your titles on purpose. Also, young people pushing back against transgender nonsense is a thing that this article has said. So, like I said before, yes, we do have a bit of pushback to the LGBTQ community, and that pushback, or the GSRM community, whichever acronym you wish to use, it's in flux, but that pushback is generally due to the fact that people are starting to understand now that people can be trans, and that being trans is normal, and because that's something that gets people upset, they start to go, LGBTQ, that has the T in it, right? Nah, I don't know how I feel about that. That's generally what we get from stuff like this. If you want evidence of that, then please go ahead and look up what the term trans panic means. We have an entire ordeal in the United States right now where only 6 states have made it illegal to use trans panic as a defense if you happen to kill a trans person. Because, United States. That LGBTQ people have all of their rights, right? Everybody, the fight's over. We don't have to actually advocate for anything anymore. I've actually had some friends of mine, not really friends, but people who I talk to, who say that there's no reason to talk about these issues because they're all done and settled, even though in 44 states you can still fucking kill a trans person. Yeah, no, it's definitely done and settled. All the groundwork that we need to do has been done. It's been finished, right? No, bullshit. Activism stops when people no longer need it, and it is still currently needed. So, feck. I thought it was queer as in genderqueer. So this is the problem with the LGBTQ thing in general, like the actual acronym, in that for some people it's genderqueer, and then for some people it just means queer, so it covers everything. There are a lot of people who like to gatekeep it bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, and I don't find that gatekeeping terribly useful, which is why, again, if I can help it, unless the article is referencing LGBTQ people, I'm going to say GSRM or GRSM. So, and then some people think that Q is questioning. So, again, it depends on who you ask. This is why GRSM is used by some people right now, and I'm starting to lean on that being the correct way to go about things, because it ignores the ambiguity. It literally just cuts the ambiguity out. We can use the term etc., but etc. can mean more of the same or more different things. So, let us see what LifeSite News has to say. As Jonathan Van Maren, who is the public speaker who wrote this, would like us to read. He's also apparently the author of The Culture War, which was released in 2016, which already sounds kind of fascistic, just a little bit, because usually when I hear the term culture war, I hear, this is the thing that's going to destroy Western culture. And when I hear those terms, I think of white supremacists, because of course. All right. Now, July 4th, 2019, so around the same time a video was released about a guy shooting me in the head. You know. Matty Verdi says, I keep hearing about fascism, but what is it? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do a bit of a thing. Let's do study time for just a quick second. Fascism, as per Wikipedia. Because, you know, Wikipedia is a wonderful page. I cannot actually get this to where we can see it very clearly. That's fine, though. So, fascism is a form of radical right-wing authoritarian ultra-nationalism, characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and strong regimentation of society and economy, which came to prominence in the early 20th century Europe. The first fascist movements emerged in Italy during World War I before spreading to other European countries. It is opposed to anarchism, liberalism, and Marxism. Fascism is placed in the far right within the traditional left-right spectrum. So, and that's the very brief, just Wikipedia summation of what fascism is. Basically, right-wing nationalism. If it's far right-wing nationalism and it's authoritarian in concept, then it's definitely that. Your anarchism on the other side denies hierarchies. Like, that's really all anarchism is. You can have anarchism with government. The government just doesn't have needs to not have unnecessary hierarchies. If any system of any kind contains unnecessary hierarchies, anarchism is against it. And there are some anarchists that would argue that government as a concept is an unnecessary hierarchy, and therefore that whole thing needs to be taken out as well. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree. I think there are some things that are useful to have a government in place for, but it's neither here nor there. But the opposition to liberalism definitely makes sense here. This is one of the reasons why you have a lot of far-right channels who do everything in their power to own the libs. Literally, liberalism is antithetical socially to fascism. So, yay. Fun stuff. If somebody calls you a liberal fascist, that is like calling somebody a gay straight man. Considering that liberalism is generally opposed to nationalism. So, yeah, no, that's weird. Whew. But, okay. Despite nonstop promotion from corporations, the mainstream media, the entertainment industry, and progressive politicians, a new set of polls seem to indicate that younger Americans are growing increasingly uncomfortable with the growing extremism of the LGBTQ movement. Wait a minute. Hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. I see a problem. Do you see a problem? Maybe this is just a nitpick. But why was the Q not included in your title, but it's perfectly fine for you to include it in your script here? That's weird. I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to feel about that. But, you know, it's discrepancy time. So, additionally, as the movement shifts into the post-gay marriage era and begins to radicalize around gender fluidity, transgenderism, how is it an ism? How is it an ism? Let's do a thing here. Ism. A distinctive practice, system, or philosophy, typically a political ideology or an artistic movement. How does being trans, which is simply an existence thing, you exist as trans, how is that an ism? How does ism come into that? I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Am I the only one? Okay. Okay, so in the chat, if ism doesn't make sense here, please press H, but if ism makes perfect sense here, then please press G. I'm very confused. Yeah, survey says H. Survey is definitely saying H right now. There's a couple G's. There's a couple G's there. So why would being trans, why would that function as an ism? I'm curious. Like that doesn't make much sense to me. Unless you're just counting the ideology that says that people can in fact exist. But even then, isn't it clearly just something they want to use to make it sound scarier, like an indoctrination or something? So, and is for something to for you to attach ism to something, which one also is typically an informal derogatory statement. But it's a distinctive practice, system, or philosophy, typically a political ideology or an artistic movement. Now, I can see there being a political ideology behind supporting trans people, but that's not the same thing. That's not that would be like saying Cyrus is a transgenderist because he supports trans people's rights. I don't think that functions there. I really don't. No, I don't think ism works for it. It just looks really strange. Sure, a scientismist. I mean, you could just call me an advocate. Trans advocate works, not transgenderist. A trans advocate probably works much better. Or a GRSM advocate probably would be the most, like, definitive way you could say that. Okay. Continuing on. The rejection of science in favor of self-identification. Who just texted me? And why? Nah. Okay, so I already have a problem with the way this is worded here. The rejection of science in favor of self-identification. To take this and run with it, we would have to admit that sociology could never be a science, right? We would have to admit that. Except we're not going to admit that because that's fucking false. Sociology is a type of science. It's a social science. Now, sociology is literally a social science. And it has to go under many of the exact same pieces of methodology or types of methodology in order to get peer-reviewed papers passed. And it's through the use of sociology that we find that there are people who do identify outside of what we consider a standard binary. So when I see something like this, the rejection of science in favor of self-identification, I would then want to grab somebody who actually is a sociologist and then run through with that. And also Smitty in the chat, just because it is harder for them to reproduce their results, considering that we're dealing with social things, and social things have to do with sapient people who can't really be relied upon to do the same thing over and over again in reaction to the same stimuli. That's one of the reasons why it's harder to replicate results. That's why you generally have, like, for instance, that's why the idea that gender is a spectrum makes less sense than gender being a bimodal institution where you have two extremes, the classical male and classical female, and then you have everything in between that is that has been considered part of the spectrum. Working something as a bimodal with varying degrees of slope in between seems to function better than just going, it's a spectrum, even though like 98% of people fall on one of the two extremes. Even though the language hasn't necessarily evolved past that point. That said, again, sociology is in itself a science. It's literally a social science. So when we look at something like this, and it says denying science in favor of self-identification, this sounds very much like a dog whistle. This sounds very much like the I'm gonna attack Apache helicopters of the world. This is something that immediately gets the people nodding their heads, going, yeah, I've heard about that on the Tumblrs, and I don't like that. Even though I've never read a single fucking study. Also, sociology. Sociologists gather systematic information from which to make a decision, provide insights to what to do in a situation, and present alternatives. Sociology is the scientific study of society, including patterns of social relationships, social interaction, and culture. Sociology is, in fact, a science. According to Auguste Comte de Durkheim, sociology is a science. It adopts and applies the scientific method. Sociology does make use of the scientific methods in the study of its particular subject matter. Sociology mainly relates to the social aspects of human beings, but the studies are based on the scientific method. It studies the social elements of our society in scientific ways. It's interesting to consider that the natural sciences evolved out of religion, which is not in and of itself a science. But if you would like, at some point, I could actually get a sociologist on here to help explain further if need be. Till then, though, I'm going to continue on here. Many of those who were neutral or supportive on deciding that this is where they got off the train. Well, yeah, because it's easier, like it's fundamentally easier to accept, with the way society has progressed in its own strange ways, it's easier to accept that Joe Schmo down the road may be banging Martha, or he may be banging Tim. And if he's banging Tim, it doesn't matter because he's not banging me. I'm never going to see it. It's never going to affect me in my day. However, there is slightly more of a visceral effect when you meet somebody who's trans for the first time. If you've never met somebody who is on HRT and is what may not be classically considered passing, there's a level of confusion that you get, especially in a society that has very extreme ideas of what masculine and feminine are. It's hard to understand in a way that Joe pegs Tim isn't. Joe pegs Tim is pretty simple. The dick goes in the butt and they love each other. Neat. Whereas with somebody who's trans, there's a whole lot of other things that have to go in there. And even though it shouldn't be anywhere near as difficult, it shouldn't, because realistically, it affects my day just as much if I meet somebody who is trans and doesn't fit, person X's definition of passing down the road. Me meeting this person has as much effect on my day as meeting Tim and then finding out that he pegs John. Like, it doesn't affect me at all. It really doesn't. But it's a harder thing to wrap your head around, so people still think that it does affect them in some strange way and shape or form. The way that people have tried to justify this in the past has been through varying levels of bigotry. For instance, the bigotry used against the gay community has been they're ruining the institution of marriage, for instance, and therefore their sanctity of marriage that they're screwing with is the thing that they're going to fight for, even though they don't really care about that, truthfully. It's just a way of oppressing people. With the trans issue, it's kind of the same thing. Oh, they're violating the sanctity of gender, I guess, and so they fight for that. We hear things like a denial of nature and other things like that for both gay and trans people. But at the end of the day, it's all just really bigotry. That's really all it is. It hasn't moved outside of being typically religious bigotry. It hasn't moved away from that. Skylar says, often I found it's disgust mixed with sexual curiosity that only makes them feel more disgusted because they can't imagine how they would do it with a trans person, but they want to know. Yeah, no, like if you see a very attractive trans woman and you go, wow, I would love a chance with her, and then you think in the back of your head, oh, but if there is a penis, you don't seem to know what you would... There's a lot of people, especially like your general cis straight people, will see that and will go, well, I don't know how I would go and date with them, even if the chances of them getting together and dating are slim to none. It's still a thing that goes in their head and it causes them a measure of disgust. When in reality, the answer to that is pretty simple. You would figure it out. Get creative. It's not going to be terribly hard. If you like the person, if you two really enjoy each other's company and you find yourself being sexually attracted to them, if you find out they have a dick, guess what? That's just another series of hurdles you're going to have to get over. If you like this person, you're sexually attracted to them, that may be the one thing you're not sexually attracted to, but there are other things you guys can do. This is why I'm going to be doing a video on freaking, on the trans panic, because there are people that when they see that, oh, this beautiful woman who they have taken out to dinner and they've bought food for and they are about to romance in the bed, they find that, oh, well, this beautiful woman has a penis. Then they get to hide behind the trans panic defense, like assholes. Hello. I see you are escaping.
It's the trans panic, which you know how I feel about. It's dumb.
It's dumb. Yeah, no, 44 states still allow for it, and it's stupid. This is not the video dealing with that, but it is part of this conversation.
It is the dumb.
If you don't like pee-pee or poop hole, what do? Mouth hole. The answer to that is mouth hole. Just let trans people be trans people. No, I agree. 110%. You've never heard of Smash Mouth? Oh, no, that's the channel you've never heard of saying Smash Mouth. You know, we are definitely out of SFW territory. Get creative. Anywho, so, but the reason that I brought all that up and the reason all that matters is because that's more complicated than Joe and Tim shag in the back of the van every once in a while. Like, that's a little more in-depth than that. Because, for instance, if you're a guy, and Tim is a guy, and Tim is gay, but you're straight, there are some people that think that that's a threat to them, but it's kind of few and far between. I was one of the people that thought that was a threat to me back when I was, like, 12. But whenever we're dealing with trans issues, for some reason, we still have not moved past some of the more complicated stuff. Not to mention, there's also the other shit, like trans gatekeepers, like Blair White. But that's a story for another day. So, moving on here, we can at least agree that it is the knowledge that trans people exist and are valid, or at least the conversation around that has caused people to kind of regress a little bit, where they go, oh, well, I'm supportive of gay people, but not trans people. I think that they're stupid, but they exist. Not to mention non-binary gatekeepers. Gatekeepers of all type. If you're marginalized and you're trying to say, you aren't marginalized enough to be me. Like, just no. All of your situations suck. Like, if I stub my toe and you get a splinter in your thumb, there is no point in time where my stubbing my toe invalidated the fact that your thumb has a splinter. If my toe stops hurting, we've not removed the splinter from your thumb. It's going to get infected. And we could remove that splinter from your thumb immediately, and my toe will still hurt from being stubbed. There's no point in time where the shit that I've gone through can possibly invalidate the shit that you've gone through. So, moving on with this article, the statistics are generally surprising. According to the annual Accelerating Acceptance Report, the number of Americans between ages 18 and 34 who are comfortable interacting with the LGBTQ people dropped from 53% from 2017 to 45% in 2018, which is already a decrease from 63% in 2016. Well, luckily we got the report right here. Let's see what we have. So in 2016, people who are uncomfortable learning that a family member is LGBTQ. In 2016, 24% of them would have been uncomfortable, but in 2018, 36% of people find that they would be uncomfortable. So that has definitely increased. My child was placed in a class with an LGBTQ teacher. 25% of people were uncomfortable with that in 2016. 33% of people are uncomfortable with that now that we are in 2018. And it goes on and on. The numbers are pretty consistent across the board with that. Then we get into number of people who consider themselves allies. 63% in 2016. And then when we get to 2018, 45%. Which is not the same thing as here. Comfortable interacting with LGBTQ people is not the same thing as considers yourself an ally. That's not. The numbers for comfort are over here, and they are still trending in the negative, but they are nowhere near the numbers that they're purporting for here. They've literally used the wrong numbers when the article's right here. I couldn't hear you. All I heard was God and that I have a small penis 3 times. So, it's really weird when numbers are misused this way. It's really, really weird. Now, I'm not saying that the numbers aren't bad. Of course they are. Like they're trending downward, and that's not what we want. But why are they trending downward? Well, there's a few reasons. One of which is that we have a president now who has pretty much enabled a lot of your more bigoted people to feel like they can be more vocal here in America. As a result, people are willing to voice their slightly more bigoted opinions more often. So here, we see that literally starting from 2016 onward. That's when that downward trend goes. It's almost as if who you have in political office has a direct result on who you actually have purporting for what in your country. Ashley Couch says, the LGBTQ people editor, did he consider that discomfort might stem from inflammatory rhetoric? Coming out is dangerous right now in some places. Yes, especially since Trump has done things against trans people in legislation. Things like making it to where you can actually deny, or trying to make it to where you can deny a trans person the ability to get surgery. Not just transitioning surgery, but any medical surgery based on a doctor's particular religious beliefs. And I think that if your religious beliefs factor in any way, shape, and form into the conversation about anything medical, then you should probably stop practicing medicine. But so we have that, and then two, also trans awareness is at an all-time high, and there are people who still don't know how they feel about trans people, even though that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything functionally. So, like, for instance, if it just so happens that Tim and Martha down the way are both trans, trans in the HRT sense, not just trans as in not cis, but they're trans, and I've known them as Tim and Martha for 3 years, but they began hormone therapy 15 years ago and had surgery, and I had no way of knowing. My day has not changed. My day has not changed. However, if I also find that they are Tim and Martha and they have not undergone HRT and have not undergone surgery and are not doing anything in order to seem like they are passing, but they just respectively request that I call them Tim and Martha, that, again, doesn't change my day. If they use the term Tim, Martha, Annie, Lulu, or Warwick, it wouldn't change anything. My day would have functionally not moved from one side to another. So, such a blanket term, someone may be comfortable with gay folks, but not trans folks. Not saying that's okay, so that might be skewing things too. You know, there are people who are comfortable with gay people and not trans people, and that's the exact reason why I've brought this up, is that there are people who say that, well, I'm not comfortable with LGBTQ people, even if they're comfortable with gay people, but they're not comfortable with trans people, because again, trans awareness is at an all-time high. So when people hear LGBTQ, they hear the trans person, and they know that that's part of that, and it sucks. It really does, and I would like to do something to fix that. The evidence that this is the case is we've had things like Jordan Peterson lying about Bill C-16, putting pronouns into a protective class apparently was a problem for him. We have things like PragerU constantly lying about trans issues. These organizations have an influence on people, and the internet really does lean politically right a lot. Like, it sucks, but it's the case. Yeah, no, Jordan Peterson lied all the way. All the way. Also, hello, Callan. We talked about sociology earlier. Because of course we did. It's my channel. Callan, since you're here, and you are my resident sociology expert, could you do me a favor and explain the problem with this particular statement? In dealing with trans issues, first of all, transgenderism, I think you and I would both agree that the ism at the end of that is strange. But the rejection of science in favor of self-identification. Can you please tell me what is wrong with that particular statement? I'm fairly certain that there's somebody who's incredibly wrong in this article, and I'm fairly certain that it's not me. Ism is a dog whistle, gender is a social construct, and has nothing to do with biology. Yep, there we go. Oof. There's the sociologist. Explaining things for the people who write articles for Christian right-wing news organizations. Sir, it's also the right conflates gayness with transness and broken gender roles. That congressperson who said that he'd drown his kids if they were gay, but talked about gender roles as though they were trans. Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of that too. This is why passing isn't an issue with identification. Correct. All right. So, moving on with this lovely article. Especially surprising is the fact that this is the only age group that is growing more uncomfortable with the LGBTQ movement. And that this is the famously... I hate this argument. Where did we actually get the term... Isn't this the tolerant generation? Isn't this the generation of tolerance? Where did we actually get that from? Where does that stem from? Because I can't actually think of where we got the idea that this generation is the more tolerant generation. I understand that this generation is the more socially progressive generation, but that does not include tolerance. That does not. Uncle Ubi says, hold up, did anybody say that the soft sciences aren't sciences yet? Somebody's already said that before, and I disagree with that. Billy tried one gay, and now he has the transism. Not even once. Katiana Bailey says, hiya, Hammer friend. Love what you do. Thank you very much. I think it's the idea that this generation is more progressive. Yeah, Lady Suki, that's basically what I said. So, continuing on, young women in particular are driving the change, with their comfort levels dropping from 64 in 2017 to 52% in 2018. That doesn't mean that they're driving the change. That just means that the polls showed that there's like another percentage or two on women than there are for men. Like that's really all that showed. Other findings triggered dire warnings from John Gersma, the CEO of the Harris poll, who stated that the polling was very alarming and could signal a looming social crisis in discrimination. So, yeah, generally when the pendulum starts to swing the other way, that is a bit of an alarming thing. But it is also what we would expect given that we are under the Trump administration. Very loud, very bigoted evangelicals have gotten a boon from being under Trump. So this is something that we would actually expect. I smoked one weed and now I'm gay. Coincidence? It's from Lemongrass for $1.99. Thank you very much, Lemongrass, by the way. Let us see here. Oh, we have some of the fan arts that have been submitted. So let us go ahead and make sure that we are taking care of the fan art as that comes in, as best we can anyway. Dude, I can't draw humans, so birds. Okay, I guess this is me and Ocean as birds. Where's Burbs? Burbs. Go ahead and get that down a little bit. There we go. We am Burbs. And then, of course, we have... That one was from Fen Gimilan? I feel like I'm saying that incorrectly. I feel like I'm saying that very incorrectly. Also, we have copy and replace image 0. Because image 0 is a curse. We have this one, which is, as per usual, far more muscular than I actually am. So thank you guys for letting me live out my fantasies of not being a fatso. That one's from Baphomet. All right. Sorry, I drank the water that was turning all the frogs gay, so now I'm gay. Well, yeah, now you have the gay. It's in you. What are you going to do? Phone, why? Why am I getting so many notifications? I need to actually turn that off. Like, I'm really bad at this. But we can at least pretend I know what I'm doing. Burbs immediately thinks of Steven Universe. All right. For example, 34% of young people said that they would be uncomfortable to find out that their doctor was LGBTQ, as opposed to 27% from a year earlier. A full 39% were not comfortable with their children receiving a lesson in school on LGBTQ history. Ow! Wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, so learning that my child had a lesson on LGBTQ history in their school. Okay, yep, that's there. That is in there. Okay. Which is nearly a 10-point jump from 30% in 2017, and 36% of young Americans indicated that they would be uncomfortable to learn that a family member identified as LGBTQ, as opposed to 29% in 2017. So what do we actually do about this? Cartoon Contrarian for the $2. It's so sad that we still have to debate this. I wish we didn't. I wish we didn't. Said, USA Today pinpointed the reasons for the surprising shift. Oh, really? Did they? We're going to do a thing first. We're going to do a thing. Let's put USA Today into our media fact checker. So USA Today does seem to have a left center bias, which is generally pretty good. If you can get a news organization that is somewhere in the center-ish, then I'm okay with that. I'm a lefty, but I still would like my news to be as unbiased as possible, where I can help it. They said the reason for the surprising shift is a negative shift for the young is surprising. Sarah from GLAAD, President CEO, when GLAAD delved into the numbers, the group found that the younger generation was coming into contact with more LGBTQ people, particularly individuals who are non-binary and simply don't identify as lesbian or gay. Wait. Hold on. Wait. I have a problem with this. There's one quotation mark here, but I do not see the end of the quote. I guess the end is here? Oh, the USA Today article said that. But wait. I'm confused. I am very confused here. The editing in here makes it very hard to actually understand. Okay. Hold on. So we have one here, and we have one here. We have a quote here from her. So I guess that USA Today just... This is USA Today. Wait, no. The negative shift for the young is surprising said, but you don't have another quotation there. The quotation didn't end. Why did the quotation not end? Who said this? You're gonna make me actually fucking look this up now. Oh my god, why? LifeSite. Very good gay news. I would like the USA Today article. That would be cool. Go to the USA Today article itself. Huh! The actual quote that they used isn't here. What? Aha! There we go. The negative shift... Oh, USA Today was the editor that fucked this up. The negative shift for the young is very surprising. She said when GLAAD delved into the numbers, the group found that the younger generation was coming into contact with more LGBTQ people, particularly individuals who are non-binary and don't identify simply lesbian or gay. This newness that they are experiencing could be leading to this erosion. It is a newness that takes time for people to understand. Our job is to educate about nonconformity. All right, cool. Okay, so it literally, I get it now. It makes sense. It makes sense now. I understand the context of it. I had to go to fucking USA Today because the USA Today fucked it up. But that's fine. Okay. So, the reason I have a problem with this, though, I have a problem with the wording, but I can understand why the wording is what it is. So there are people who identify as gay or lesbian, and that makes people understand, okay, cool, this is what you like. Then you can't control what you like. But then when you say, well, I'm non-binary, that's a self-identification of what you are, which is different, but we still see it as the same thing. I have no idea what that is. Anywho, so because we see these things as, we see people identifying as lesbian or gay as normal, but somebody identifying as non-binary, somebody goes, well, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? What does non-binary mean? Okay, well, pretty simple. All you'd have to do is just look up this. So, to understand what non-binary means, let's do a thing, because apparently this is a thing that people don't get, according to LifeSite and USA Today. Gender can mean either of the two sexes, but it is especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. The term is also used to more broadly denote the range of identities that do not correspond with the established ideas of male and female. So if we're dealing with the social and cultural differences, and you find that you don't actually land on either end of those social and cultural differences that you find for classically male and classically female, then you would be non-binary. You find that you don't land there at all. You don't land anywhere there. If you find that some days you kind of feel like the social influence of what we deem as like a male in culture, you feel like that, and then tomorrow you feel a little more female in that way sociologically, then of course when you're doing that sway back and forth, then we might say, well, that behaves a little bit like a fluid. Oh wait, that gender is fluid. That makes sense. Like that literally is just gender fluidity. Could you link the article that you're reading, both US Today and the crazy one? Sure. Absolutely. So the one that I'm reading is right here. Boom. And the USA Today one is right here. Boom. There we are. Non-Newtonian gender fluids. So let's see how they frame this. In other words, the LGBTQ movement may have pushed culture too far. Many people accept the idea that the government should stay out of people's sex lives. A majority of Americans also came to believe over the past 2 decades that gay people should be permitted to get... Oh, boy. Can anybody else in the chat explain the problem with what I have just highlighted? Please. I have every confidence in you guys. I have every single bit of confidence that you guys can point out what's wrong with what I have there. Ah! Everybody in the chat recognizes it. Everybody in the chat immediately. I don't even have to do this. I don't even have to make this video. You guys are smart enough. I can just send you guys this blog, and you guys can make an entire dissertation on why this is fucked up. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do shit. So, this might be a bit pedantic, but the quote in the USA Today might not be a word-for-word quote. Instead, is a summary of a statement. Yeah, no, I can understand that. Cyrus is over. He doesn't need to do his job anymore. Okay, so permitted to get quote unquote married, or quote married unquote. So why do we have a quotation mark here? A process described incisively by Daryl Paul in his 2018 book From Tolerance to Equality: How the Elites Brought America to Same-Sex Marriage. Daryl Paul. Well, let's take a look. Who are you? Are you a person who I care about? Daryl Paul. You seem interesting. Bachelor's from University of Minnesota, Master's from George Washington University, PhD from University of Minnesota in political science. He has Rescaling International Political Economy, From Tolerance to Equality, shows how the normalization of homosexuality and same-sex marriage in the United States has been a class project rooted in the American elite's lived experiences, their political influence, and their ideologies, particularly managerialism and diversity. Okay. Wow. Wow, page not found when I clicked that. Page not found when I clicked that at all. Let's do a SparkNotes thing. Can we SparkNotes this? I'm sure we can. The Gospel Coalition? Oh my god. Is that really where this goes? Oh my god. Okay, so let's do a thing. Let's look at the reviews. Oh my god. Review: a new managerial elite has ascended to power in the American Academy, learned professions, corporations, religious bodies, and government. Daryl Paul not only charts out how the elite has led the country to normalize homosexuality, but also shows the campaign of same-sex marriage constitutes this elite's identity in our time. Paul tells no simple morality tale of enlightenment overcoming the intolerance. He demonstrates how this elite's aspiration to win each battle of the culture war compromises their capacity to rule and be ruled by their capacity to defend crucial individual liberties. From Tolerance to Equality is a must-read showing how our culture wars are leading to the end of factional conflict in America. The apparent paradox of our nation's wealthy and powerful elite leading to charge of marriage equality can no longer go unexamined. With the publication of his important and consequential book, his study raises unavoidable and even uncomfortable questions about the possible connections between the entrenchment of class inequality and elite-driven advances of sexual equality in today's America. This book deserves to be widely read, candidly discussed, and strenuously debated. Purchase it before it's illegal. Emery with the $5. Have you ever heard of separation of church and state? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that G4 has heard of that. One of the most important books in the last decade, approached carefully from ostensibly neutral position and written as an empirical study. Well, written as an empirical study does not mean that it is an empirical study. Paul's assertion is that American liberal elites used opinions on homosexuality as a mark of social distinction, and thus as a tool for accumulation of cultural authority and political power. The data presented in this book is extremely hard to argue against and helps clarify the why behind the massive push for gay rights by the political, corporate, and academic elite. This is one for the bookshelf. Okay. You know what? Fine. Fine. I've just added that to my wish list. I'll take that book on at some point. Why is it $115? What? Wait, no. No. Okay, nope. Going back to the Amazon wish list. We're getting rid of that. Where's that thing? Where is it? We're gonna pull over here. Amazon wish list. Let's get rid of you. Cyrus's wish list. Yeah, no, we're not actually gonna have that on there. Goodbye. I was gonna throw that on there, and I was just like, yeah, we'll just go ahead and buy this book and do a review of it at some point. Yeah, no, fuck that. Absolutely no. The book title is From Tolerance to Equality: How Elites Brought America to Same-Sex Marriage, and it is by Daryl E. Paul, and it is $115 for a hardcover book. How? How did you actually charge people that much? Jesus. That's way too much. That's way too much. Paperback is like $40. Yeah, paperback is $40. Yeah, that's prices for like an academic textbook, but I don't think this is that. I really don't. That's nuts. Oh boy. All right, LifeSite, what else do we have here? So, most people simply do not believe that women can have penises and that men can get pregnant, or that gender is fluid. The simple fact is that to most people, non-binary and other ever-shifting and multiplying categories are simply nonsense. Okay? And? Does that matter? At one point, most people thought the world was flat. So? Argumentum ad populum is a fallacy for a reason. I got gay married. It's too late for me. The liberal elites are bad. Buy my $115 book. Thank you, Josiah. Is it printed in gold ink with a diamond cover? So, I want to die. Young people have a front row seat to the chaos in the LGBTQ movement, and it's wreaking havoc on their schools. Biological males and girls... Does everybody here understand why biological male's a fucking dog whistle? Does everyone get that? Is that a thing I have to explain? Is that a thing I have to explain to people in the chat? Okay. So. Wow, they're hitting all the notes. Yeah, no. So. Let me explain something. So, here's the reason why biological male is a fucking nonsense thing. First of all, if we're going by biology, okay, there's only one thing in biology that is truly binary when it comes to determining sex, and that is going to be your gamete size. We can use gamete size to determine biologically male, biologically female. Even then, that's still semi-socially constructed, because if we had said that male was actually gabblegook and female was wompfomp, then we would have biologically gabblegook and biologically wompfomp. The concept of biological male or biological female wouldn't matter. The words are fucking arbitrary. That said, moving on to chromosomes, chromosomes can lead you to shit tons of things like XXY, like Klinefelters, etc. So even then, we don't have a true binary. Now, here's the reason that the term biological male for this doesn't fucking matter. First of all, when somebody's saying biological male, they're usually referring to somebody with a penis. Like, women with a penis would be biologically male, according to these people. Okay, neat, but what if that penis gets cut off? If the penis was your litmus test for whether or not this woman was in fact a biological man, then as soon as that's removed via surgery, then you would just goalpost shift to chromosomes. And as soon as we determine and show you that that doesn't fucking matter, then you'll move it to gametes. So, and I know that the penis is not removed. I recognize that it is essentially reversed in this process. I understand that. However, try explaining the actual concept of bottom surgery and how it functions to somebody like Jonathan on this website, and they're not going to understand what you mean at all. They think that it literally means cutting the dick off. And to them, reversing the penis and having it inside instead of outside is still the same thing as having it removed. So, as far as they're concerned. So it doesn't matter the semantics on that, because the semantics on that is something that these people are not going to understand. So there's a separate reason why none of this matters. Okay? Let's say I'm going down the street. I'm walking down the aisle. Okay? I want to get some good tomato soup because I would like to eat it, and Raz would like to eat it, and Aaron would like to die because she's allergic to tomatoes. So I'm going to get some tomato soup. I'm tossing it in my cart, and I accidentally bump against another person's cart without realizing it because I'm looking at this nice thing of Campbell's tomato soup, and I'm going, I would love to digest this soup. I would love it if it were in my stomach and causing me indigestion right now. So, if I bump into somebody who's wearing a dress, has long hair, has just massive tits, has a light voice, and literally has everything that I would consider just a female, right? This is like pinnacle passing female at this point. And I say, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am." And they go, "Oh, no worries." I do not stop and go, "Wait a minute, hold on. Ma'am, I have a question. Do you have a penis?" To which if they say yes, which there are trans people who don't want to get bottom surgery. This is a thing. To which if they say yes, I don't go, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir." No, that's not a thing that you do. Not just it's not socially acceptable, but that's just not a thing that we generally do. I don't look at somebody who I know is female, they identify as female, they dress female, they have every single thing. They might not even dress female. They might. Insofar as we can even determine dressing female as a fucking thing. They might not even dress that way. But you don't ask somebody, there's never a point in time where you ask somebody, "Hey, what's in your pants?" And if they say, like for instance, let's say that this person was a trans female, and then said, "Well, actually, I have a vagina." I would not then say, "Oh, you do? What's your chromosomal alignment?" That's not a thing you do. It's not a functional thing. It has no utility. That conversation has no purpose. So, because that conversation has no purpose... Hello. Hi, honey. How are you?
Do you like waffles?
Yes, I like waffles.
Do you like pancakes?
Yeah, I like pancakes.
Do you like French toast?
Yeah, I like French toast.
Do.
No,
Prince Ali.
Wait, what?
Bob.
Wait, honey, I have a question.
What?
So I see that you have the long hair, and I see that you have the tits.
Eh?
Okay, so I would call you a ma'am out in society. What's in your pants?
Hold on, can I do a joke real quick?
What's the joke?
Aaron's hand.
Aaron's hand. Oh my god. But hopefully I've demonstrated how ludicrous that fucking statement is. Okay, cool. Now we'll continue. What's in the pants? More pants. Hello! I would say this is soul crushing. Hey, honey, I have a question. Under normal circumstances, I'm fine with you doing this, but could you please hop off? Would you like to know why? You're making it to where I'm pressing down and having to poop more. And I still have to stream. Alert, sir, this covers my DNA shame. Don't ask my chromosomes in such a way. Oh my god.
I mean,
What?
I could sing while you go poop.
No, I'm gonna continue this. Okay.
So we have caused sufficient chaos. Must cause more chaos.
No, we're done. We're done with chaos.
Gotta get higher up. You gotta be in shot. Aaron, there you go.
Oh my god. Kenyan hot sauce. Why? Why?
See, other people-
Why is this continue?
See, Lacto agrees.
Why does this continue?
Thanks to BP.
No, seriously, please stop. I love you. I love you.
Kenyan hot sauce.
Out. Vacate. 10-foot restraining order.
Come on, do it. You gotta do the hand thing. Kenyan hot sauce.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Somebody's even
Why
typing
should I do
H.
it when you've already done it?
Because I want people to see you do it.
H for Sora's taking a bio break.
I'm going to how much
There.
more of this article do I have? I have 2 paragraphs left in this article. Let me just finish.
Nah.
Jesus. It's 2 fucking paragraphs.
What's in your pants? Spaghetti.
Why is spaghetti in your pants? Okay, please let me finish. Please.
You know, spaghetti's straight and breakable till you get it wet. Then it's floppy and wet.
Penis. Why?
I'll stand for accounting.
Mighty is his math. Why isn't spaghetti in your pants?
Leave the woman with us and go take a shit.
No, I can finish this.
I have been demanded, though.
No. I'm
We've
going to
been
continue.
demanded.
Susan
don't-
also says, "Why isn't spaghetti in your pants?"
Okay, there's one good reason why I'm not getting up.
Oh wow, you're wearing boxers just like me. Look, guys, I'm wearing boxers.
Oh my god. Honey. I'm gonna lock the door next
I'm
time.
here for chaos.
Okay, I get that.
You
I
see,
do.
I saw how boring your chat was, and I was like, you know what they need? Chaos.
Please. Go. Let me finish.
You know, at least 50 of those people are because of me, okay?
Honey, you'll need to check Discord.
Why?
You will need to check Discord when you sit down. I love you. Okay. Continuing on. God. Excuse me, but let's just finish. He's edged for far too long. Who wears pants in their own home? Not me. Okay, so young people also been a front. Blah, 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 biological males in the girls' bathroom. Biological males destroying female competition. God fucking. Why? Why is the fucking trans sports thing still a conversation? And I know I literally made an episode about this yesterday where my solution was literally, why the fuck do we have gendered sports anymore? But just... why is that brought up here? Why? And again, fucking... why? So we're all in agreements that fucking biological male is a dog whistle. We get that. We understand that that's a thing being used here. Okay. Continuing on. This isn't G4 anymore. This isn't G4 anymore. We've moved past G4. So, The utter confusion of transgenderism, transition, and the... What the fuck is that sentence? What the fuck is that sentence? Also, thank you very much, Ash Westbeats, for the free super chat. Ocean. I need. We're doing a thing. I'm gonna do a thing. I need you to help parse a thing for me.
I knew you were gonna do this.
Okay. So I want you to tell me the problem with this fucking sentence.
Hold on a minute. I gotta do headphone things.
You gotta do headphone things.
Yeah, I like it's. I just got home and then I sat down and was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do it. Let me put on a headphones. I'll do a thing.
Okay.
But yeah, like while doing that, go ahead and explain this sentence to me.
Okay. Biological males in the girls' bathroom, biological males destroying the female competition at women's sporting events, the utter confusion of transgenderism, transition, and the LGBTQ indoctrination.
I don't know what that says.
Oh, you don't?
It's the other confusion of Is there more? There's got to be more context.
Oh, there is. Here's the whole.
Like
here. Let me send you.
Send me a link. Send me a link.
There you go.
Yeah.
And we're on this paragraph right here.
This paragraph right here.
Okay. There you go.
Young people can have a front row seat to the chaos. Biological males destroying the female competition at women's sporting. Oh, okay. This is like covering everything, isn't it?
This is like every level of bigotry somebody can have just in a fucking sentence.
Yeah, it's like basically, let me just compact all the ignorance of this discussion into a single statement. That's pretty much it, isn't it? Yep. All right, hold on. I just found out that my headphones are in another room. I'm going to go grab them real quick.
God damn it. Now males are chaotic. Someone called Jorgen Beeperson. Oh boy. So, while he is doing that, we will get to the rest of that actual thing. They have lived these things, and it is notable that much of the pushback to this agenda is coming from young people, not from adults. It is teenage girls who are suing their schools over bathroom privacy and biological males in female sports competition. Can you just fucking say trans women? We know what you mean. The difference is that when you say biological males, we know that you're being a fucking fasci. That's really what it is. We get it. We get that you're a bigot, and we get that you desperately want us to know that you're a bigot. But Jesus fuck, could you actually just use the term trans women? Please? Like, this is so brain damaging. I only have 2 brain cells. One is doing CPR on the other. Not to mention, hey, let's just do a thing.
Okay, I'm set up now. What?
Okay, cool. I was gonna run a fucking thing here. So, people that get upset over women, trans women being in cis women bathrooms, insofar as we determine these bathrooms were cis only, fucking ever. People who get upset over that, can we just point out that women's bathrooms are closed stalls? There is no point in time where you will actually see the dangly bits. There is no point in time where you will see them. How did you determine these things without violating someone else's privacy? How? How did you get there?
All right, here we go. LGBT. All right, so this isn't guns. This isn't G4, is it? This is another. No,
I started on G4 and I've used G4 as a springboard.
I realized this is a different website. This is lifesitenews.com. I'm just guys, bear with me. I just got here.
Okay.
I haven't. I'm
Okay.
so behind.
Do you need me to
Like,
get you up to
so,
speed real quick? Do you need me to get you up to speed real
maybe,
quick? Okay. Here's a
possibly.
quick 2.5 minutes
All
to
right.
get you up to speed. So G4 made a video about
Right.
him making a target and shooting it repeatedly with my face on it.
So he made it. There's video footage of him just shooting your face.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
that's creepy.
I have
Okay. Cool.
contacted the police, and
Copy you.
their response is that the best thing to do here is to recognize that he has done something that is considered legally borderline, which means if he does another couple dumb
I figured
things,
that was borderline.
yeah, if he does another couple dumb things, then he's actually like in trouble. Or if he does something notoriously stupid, there's a paper trail that leads back to him now.
Right.
So, however, in so doing, if I were to continue my back and forth with him now that he has done this, there is a level of participation that I would be acquiescing, basically.
So what do you think you're gonna? How do you approach that?
Well, I approach that by contacting the authorities I've already done, and then just pointing out that, by the way, this threat was made, and I'm going to use you as a springboard to get into something that actually fucking matters, because that thing is not you.
That's fair. I think that that's fair. That way he continues to rant about you. You just document and move on.
Yep, basically.
Because like he's a pretty stellar example of an idiot, which is good for this kind of content where you're like trying to, deconstruct a stellar example of an idiot. But let's just be honest, what it is. But I guess once you get into this like weird sort of territory, the world has no shortage of idiots, as we're seeing with this LifeSite thing. So all right, so give me the LifeSite. We have this guy. I see this little thing that says follow Jonathan on Twitter.
Yeah, so LifeSite News.
Twitter.
LifeSite News is a
29,000.
is a very right-wing, almost extremist political website that heavily favors Christian evangelicals and makes a lot of anti-LGBTQ articles, not in the same vein that Anderson does in the "Hey, let's kill them all," but in the "they're appropriating Western culture and destroying civilization," that type of thing.
We don't want to start having that conversation, do we? So I looking at this article, Jonathan Van Maren, and my first instinct with this is the article's stupid, but I wanted to get into like who wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just did a couple of clicks. So Jonathan Van Maren, he's on the Twitters, J Van Maren at his description says columnist and author of The Culture War and other books.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called The Culture War. Like, is it right-wing thing to do now to just write books with the title of like commonly searched things?
Fun fact.
Because I can't think of like I imagine there's several books out there called The Culture War. Like I think that fucking Bill O'Reilly wrote a book that was like about that, right?
So
or Culture Warrior.
So there's a fun fact about that. Apparently, also the term I have a friend who is in the chat, has been doing some research, but apparently the term Western civilization began etymologically as a white supremacist term.
Western civilization. Oh, you're talking about like going back into
like the first usages and the first reasons why we coined the term Western civilization. Apparently, it has a lot of like really, really hefty white supremacist links. So
it's like when you get a lot of this stuff originates from conversation. You can do that with a lot of terms like that. If you go back into I'll bet you could probably do this with the term atheism. I mean, because a lot of this stuff goes back into the late 1700s, early 1800s, where you did have a lot of this. I'm betting, is that where it comes from, that period of time?
Let me see here.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah.
That
While you're
period
doing
of
that,
time has like a whole bunch of bad racism stuff in pretty much every subject matter,
because that was the culture.
Right. So
the uses go back to mid 1800s.
Right. So there you go. So pretty much anything that was a conversation at that point in time. This is also when science developed, really, like modern science. So you can make that claim with the word science as well. So I don't think that it's necessarily fair to say, well, Western civilization, et cetera, that anybody that uses that is going to be is you can ascribe that intention to them or something like that. However, I do agree with you that it's the dog whistliness of it has come full circle, because whenever I hear people talking about the praises of Western civilization, it does usually imply some kind of
That's when you hear about Western civilization and trying to get it appropriated by cultural Marxists.
Right. Yeah. It starts to get into it. It gets a little dog whistly for there was on the tip of my tongue, and then you said something, and you threw me like my train just went off the rails and spun into the world. Oh, kind of like a colonialist, race realist sort of attitude. Like it becomes dog whistle for colonialism whenever you hear Western civilization and someone like talking it up these days.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Americans came to the English. They came to this country and they decided that they were going to see a group of savages, and they were going to tame them all and treat them and teach them the necessity of Western civilization and Christian values.
Right.
That basically.
Yeah, like that. Did you intentionally imitate Computing Forever?
Yes.
Or did you? Okay. Right.
That was an intentional Computing Forever. Are you okay, Ocean?
I'm dying. But
I'm just letting you know what my me daddy Jordan Peterson told me many eons ago when he was talking about the feminists.
I thought that Computing Forever was Sargon's butt boy. I mean, isn't he like
he's against Sargon?
Now he did several guest videos on Sargon's
yes, but now him and
Sargon.
Yes, but now he considers Sargon not right-wing enough for him. He considers Sargon too far left for him.
The guy who was doubling down on rape comments in a UKIP election is not far enough to the right.
Correct.
Oh right, someone just said in the chat, Sargon is a Marxist. I remember that. Computing Forever like went after Sargon like crazy and going like, this is like a policing our own kind of thing, and it was like this whole thing, wasn't it? Because Sargon like tried to steelman Marxism in a conversation once.
And then he tried to call him a Marxist apologist for that.
Right. Sargon is also one of those people that goes Western civilization masturbation thing.
And what you need to know is whenever I think of Western civilization, my hand is firmly on my dick.
And someone's saying that like Sargon is the centrist version of an SJW, and I don't agree. Actually.
He is very right.
He touts himself to be a centrist. He keeps talking about how he's left of center, but he's also a Trump supporter.
Really fucking wrong.
Right. He's left of center, but he supports Trump.
Oof.
One of those is false.
We know that Sargon won't see this because it's past the 5-minute mark.
I mean, yeah.
But we do have 2 paragraphs left here.
So the person who I'm quoting just said, hence the quotes, he's not a centrist. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, we're on the same page.
First of all, we do have the end of this here. We're doing a thing. So their childhoods are being turned into battlefields in the culture wars, and many of them are profoundly unhappy with this. You do realize though that like the people who are turning this into battlefields are the adults, right?
Okay.
Like if you were to rear children, letting them know that hey, people who are different than you exist and that's fine, that they literally would just be like, yeah, Martha wanted to use the restroom. Who fucking cares?
I'm kind of confused at this whole. So I'm reading the sentence as well. Push the culture war too far. Of course, he puts in. Oh, it pushed the culture too far.
He also puts marriage in quotation marks for gay marriage.
Yeah, of course. But he says, but most people simply do not believe that women have penises, that men can get pregnant, or that the gender is fluid. I was talking with somebody about this recently. That, we use several different social constructs in conversations about gender and sex, and that in like a scientific conversation, that you do have like this definition of sex that is based on gamete size, and then you have like a social idea um, of what sex is when you're talking about a broader variety of characteristics. Even in a scientific conversation, you start getting into this conversation of
Yeah,
like,
which is
oh, it's not just gamete size. There's other things as well.
which is why usually what happens here is you. I did a hypothetical of like I run into a woman with long hair wearing a dress with like massive tits, like literally like this is as feminine as we can make a person, and then I say, oh, I'm sorry I bumped into you, ma'am, and then according to people like this, the correct thing to say afterwards is, wait, hold on a minute, what's in your pants?
No, it's
and then
it's
afterwards,
it's worse than that. It's
well,
worse than
well,
that.
I know. Listen, let me.
Ma'am, I need to
Hold on.
check your gamete size.
Well, there's a reason I'm not done, because it was, pardon me, ma'am, what's in your pants? And when they say a vagina, then you say, oh, so what about your chromosomes? And then when they say XX, then you go, oh, okay, what? Wait, hold on, gametes. So
I don't know. There's like this. I had this image of like, you know, those images of people with like the eyes lit up. And it's just like, how do you define sex characteristics? And you get down to genitalia, chromosomes, and then gametes, and like the brain keeps getting bigger and bigger. But yeah, you know, but it's hold on a second. Let me check this. And you know, because this is one of the things that kind of shows that even biological sex is a social construct, because you can define biological sex on the basis of genitalia, chromosomes, or gamete size, etc., etc., etc.
Well, that etc., etc. really only goes to like two more things: gonadal expression and three more things actually. Gonadal expression, genitalia expression, and then you've got brain. After gonadal and genitalia, you have phenotypical expression. Boom. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, yeah. So these are all different definitions of biological sex. So when someone is telling you biological sex is a social construct, nobody's saying that, like, you know, that there's a disagreement on the fact of the matter regarding what the reality of the case is, or something like that, as far as like general facts on the ground. It's the like no one's dissuading, saying that like, well, the gamete sizes themselves are you know, relative or something like that, or whatever. But it's that there are different definitions for what are considered biological sex. Same with gender being, so this guy's just like, it seems what is interesting to me, and this is where like I think that when you get into like orthodoxy and Christianity and influencing culture gets in, is that there's like, people get this idea in their fucking heads, and they can't hold more than one at the same time. So the fact that there's like several different definitions of what biological sex is, and that that's a social construct as far as which one is accepted in different situations, this guy is making the this weird thing of like picking one arbitrarily and saying that now this is the fact. This is how society should be governed, is according to my impression of which one of these definitions that I accept.
Because if like literally everything
going into which bathroom. Right.
Because if literally everything was expressively female, but there just happened to be a penis, which has happened, then he would go, no, that one a man. Right. That one a man. I know it is. And then you just go, well, hold on, wait a minute. If literally everything, the chromosomal alignment, the gamete size, which does influence these things, but anomalies happen. If the chromosomal alignment, the gamete size, which you're never gonna fucking check, let's be honest.
I don't know how to. I've never checked
the
phenotype. My own gamete sizes.
Yeah, exactly.
I presume it's masculine. But...
the phenotypical expression, like all of this stuff lines up female, but then they go into the bathroom and then they unzip their pants or lift up their dress. You lift up dress. We'll just go ahead and do that because, you know, why not go ahead and get them even angrier? We've seen what a female Ceres avatar does to these people.
Yeah, that was something that was really funny.
So
I included your little cat avatar in my most recent video.
So and they lift up the pants and they sit down to take a nice old poop. And how are you going to tell from the particular way in which the piss trickles out of the dick that the woman had a dick. How are you going to know, and how are you going to care?
This is actually one of the, and there's a couple of people in the chat that have mentioned this as well, that like, you know, I don't have a problem with the idea of unisex bathrooms, but the thing that I object to with respect to unisex bathrooms is purely personal, in that I want to use a urinal. But I'm perfectly fine, like, with all the other consequences of it. You know?
I mean, the unisex bathroom can have like a couple urinals as well. There's nothing saying
they
that
just
it can't.
need to. I think that the dividers, like some bathrooms, have urinals where there's no dividers. I think that dividers in unisex bathrooms at urinals would have to be like fairly pronounced. But I like other than that, I don't give a shit. You know, as long as we can preserve the cultural the cultural place of urinals.
And you see, it is the removal of the urinal. It is the removal of the urinal that is the first stone being removed from the wall that protects us from the cultural Marxists.
Right. Yeah. No. That's exactly the conclusion I was going to. Right.
The removal, the urinal is the keystone of which we keep Western civilization held up. Look at places that are being overrun by the Islams. Look at them being overrun by people who are just slightly more brown than me, and that makes me very uncomfortable.
This is what I'll say: is if we remove urinals, the next step is seizing the means of production. Like it's just not.
You remove the urinals, you go straight to socialism.
That's what's gonna happen as soon as the urinals are gone. Nothing is in between the communists and seizing the means of production.
Wait, you mean the socialists?
The social cultural Marxists.
well, I was just gonna point out that like socialism is just the people having the means of production.
There's a lot of I don't know. I'm making a Soviet joke. Okay, that's all I'm doing. That's all I'm fucking doing.
Oh God, there was a thing I was gonna say, and it's gone now. I can't remember what it is. Heck, Ocean, I hate you. I'm sorry.
You too.
I've forgotten what it is.
You're doing me a forget.
I'm doing you forget. Most houses don't even have most houses don't have urinals, and therefore are vulnerable to Marxism.
Socialism is people owning the means of pissing. That's the fucking okay. All right, that's where we're at.
There's the conquest of bread. This is the conquest of piss.
We've hit peak commie.
This is the conquest of piss. That's what this is now.
Anyway, there's more to this article.
Yes,
I came on here. This is what happens: is you invite me on here, and all of a sudden everything goes to shit.
Yeah. That's like what happens when you come over to my house. Like everything's just bad afterwards. But then you get to eat chicken tenders, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's true. Those Suris makes excellent chicken tenders, everybody. This guy is like a chicken tender wizard.
Apparently Ocean didn't know how to crack an egg with one hand.
I don't know. I still don't. You're going to have to tell you what. Next time you do the chicken tender extraordinaire at your place, get an extra package of like 18 eggs.
So you can just sit there and try.
So that we can figure it out, and whatever ones are successful, we'll make it into the batter. But I suspect that there's going to be a substantial number of failures before we actually get there. And be sure to have eggs extra than the 18 pack that we get for this endeavor, because it's going to be a mess. And we may wind up with 100% failure, Cyrus. I'm just letting you know.
No one is ever going to have a memorial statue with the inscription, he told people where to shit.
For Exactaguru, no, it's not like on a bowl. I can do like on a bowl. Except I still have to bring in the second hand in order to do the cracking. So
Zeo Gold, most of my jokes today have not been aimed at Peterson. They've been aimed directly at Computing Forever.
I believe you. Because Computing Forever is such a strange human. Because he started out doing laptop reviews, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that he moved into this weird realm of cultural commentary that was just it's surreal to me. Anyway, young
So-
people, front row seats, so on.
So we have
we're
the
back to this article.
the LGBTQ movement has now surged forward so swiftly that even many activists who championed same-sex quote marriage find
Yeah, he's
themselves
doing that again.
bewildered and out of step. Like, oh my god, the first step of social progression was achieved. Had no idea we had to do more. Jesus fucking shit. Anyway, LGBT activists are attempting to use an entire generation as the guinea pigs in a massive social experiment with gender fluidity and sexuality. And many of those guinea pigs, as GLAAD's own polling indicates, are very unhappy with it. This is just conspiracy theory. That's just conspiracy theory.
I feel like a lot of what he's saying would need to be backed up with survey data. I think that he's probably right with respect to as far as pushback and people being unhappy with it.
Oh, there is pushback. I actually
like-
have the article up right
within-
now that shows that there's pushback.
Yeah,
I have
so,
the polling
like,
data on it.
with respect to the conservative world. It does seem like there's a significant pushback to this, and that they're shutting down from the conversation and then just silently going like, all right, well, fine, I'll just vote against it. And because that's how conservatives react. They tend not to be very loud about things. They tend to just be like, all right, well, I'm just going to vote in the voting booth. And we see that with like the phenomena of the secret Trump voter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where like, Hillary Clinton had like a 95% chance of winning by like on 523, and then all of a sudden, we all recall what happened with that election. Trump won, right?
Yeah.
So, and there does seem to be an element of the secret Trump voter. At the same time, within areas of conservative orthodoxy, and I've talked with like our mutual friend Wolf about this.
Mm-hmm.
That people in conservative orthodoxy are also having a similar sort of like weird pushback to that, and there's the secret not Trump voter. It's another like strange thing, that you have people that are like secretly tolerant in areas of conservative orthodoxy. It's very strange, but the internet's not that place. The internet is a place where it's like the orthodoxy tends to be more left, and conservatives just like don't interact and just go to the voting booth. So such that they won't even tell pollsters what they think.
Yeah.
So
So
anywho,
it's-
that's my
but it's-
rant. There's a lot of weird things about our culture that are kind of like falling through on this stuff.
Let's see here. Zia Gold Mistress, do you know of people out there that call themselves progressives but do and say things that give ammo to the far right? Yes, I am aware that Dave Rubin exists.
Does Dave Rubin call himself a progressive?
He calls himself a left and a liberal. I
Liberal.
believe.
Yeah, he says he's a liberal and he leans left.
Yeah,
He's like Sargon like that. Like Sargon says he's left of center, but he's just
except he literally is like the most useful tool for the fucking right wing.
Rubin isn't even a he's a libertarian. Though. Like when he says liberal, that's what he means. He's a libertarian.
He does what Sargon does. He's a classical liberal.
Yeah.
He does the classical
Liberalistism.
liberal thing. Liberalistismist.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Which
and
is
I think
hilarious.
and I think that it's stupid.
that
But there's a reason that they do that. It works very well for making money. And I'm not just trying to say that he's doing it just to be a grifter. I mean, I'm fairly certain that Rubin's a fucking grifter. But considering that we actually have videos of Dennis Prager telling Dave Rubin directly, actually, no, you're really useful to right-wing conservatives being a lefty yourself.
I think I saw that interview. That's an older interview, right?
It's a much older interview.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing that like it's the same reason that Blair White is so useful to transphobes, because she's trans.
Yeah, I feel that.
Like Blair is useful to transphobes. Dave Rubin is useful to right wing guys, and then freaking Ben Shapiro is insanely useful to Christian evangelicals because. Oh, and Dennis Prager as well. Dennis Prager and Ben Shapiro are both incredibly useful to Christian evangelicals because, well,
they're
look,
not even.
they're not Christians. No, they're Jewish.
No, they're on they're purposeful about it
Hmm.
because Prager will even say that he's in favor of Judeo-Christian values.
Hmm.
Like, as long as you're a monotheist, you're fine with him. I mean, as
Well,
long as you're a
wait,
monotheist,
but
it's not a Muslim.
I was
Sorry,
about to say,
I had to catch myself.
There's about 2 billion
Right.
people who don't fall into that category for Prager.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But no, like it's this is why when somebody says that well, how could X be a homophobe, they're gay, or how could X be a transphobe, they're trans. Whenever somebody says that, I'm just like, you are aware of the concept of a useful idiot, right?
And some people are talking about like Candace Owens in the chat as well, and I don't think that Candace Owens is a useful idiot. I think Candace Owens is self-aware.
Candace. So I think the moment that I realized that Candace was incredibly fucking self-aware was the moment that she called Kaepernick white. I think that was the moment that I was like, you know what you're doing. You fucking know what you're doing.
She's perfectly aware.
Like, that's a like, you know exactly what you're doing, and it's silly.
I don't even like it's the Blair. Like, speaking of Blair White, because we're jumping into like the culture war,
Oh my God.
conversation. If you go to Blair White's channel, and there's a video of hers called "The Truth."
Oh, is this the one where she says that like most conservatives are liars, and then like in the very
Yeah,
next video,
a lot of them are.
she's like, I'm not actually going to talk about. You know, it's funny. So she says that most conservatives are liars. They do it for the money, and she says that, but I'm not talking about politics anymore because of how I've been treated by conservatives. The very next episode that she rakes, she goes, "Nope, I lied, talking about politics again."
Well, that's fine. I don't care if she talks about politics.
No,
her
but
channel did make a hard shift for a little while where she was just making pop content.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, I don't. Pop content channels making political statements isn't necessarily like the newest thing in the world. But Blair White going over into pop content was fine. But she
it's just the proximity of the statements is just
right,
really
course.
awkward.
It's like the
to
following
me.
video, all of a sudden you're back into politics, right? And that's fine, yeah. I'm seeing this biological male's.
It's literally just me sitting there like,
just like, oh god.
Thank you, Jack the Vulture.
funny.
You're wonderful.
But like Blair White is like the thing about the point that I was making with that wasn't that Blair White is going away from politics, but the point was that it does seem to be that there's a lot of these people that are completely self-aware. So when you see like a conservative pundit, I'm not talking about like all of them, but if you see a conservative pundit who is quick in a conversation but is making statements that are really stupid, so think less Sarah Palin and more Candace Owens, that it's probably that they're not telling the truth, that they're just playing a game and they're making money playing this game, which is deplorable. That like it's capitalism I'm going to sound like a communist right now, but it's capitalism influencing our political rhetoric in a way that is like really strange.
So like you don't actually have to be communist. So you don't have to be communist to be anti-capitalism. Like you really don't.
Yeah, I'm not even an anti-capitalist, and you know people will pearl clutch over that statement. But like I'm of a position where it's like I recognize where capitalism definitely influences our society in ways that are horribly negative, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Like the capitalist effect on the fourth estate is shit. Like it's absolutely shit. And
the medical system.
Yeah.
The effect that capitalism has on the medical system is like the effect that capitalism has on the medical system and on the prison system are two of the biggest sticking points for me that just piss me off.
Like capitalism's effect on basic needs is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Just across the board, basic capitalism effect on basic needs. That at the same time, like one of the my agreement of capitalism is that there should be like it's kind of like the standard thing of like, if you're putting forward a lot of effort, you should be rewarded for that effort, kind of thing. But oftentimes that's not even how it plays. So
No, that's not, that's
um,
actually that, like capitalism's antithetical to that statement.
right, yeah,
Like the
in a lot
current
of ways it is.
like the current way that capitalism manifests in our society is very antithetical to that statement directly, because classically the people who do put forth the effort get paid a little more, like they get promotions and such, but they still do not make anywhere near what would consider a living wage, which would be adequate compensation for putting forth that effort. So I would say that because we're in like late stage capitalism, it's very, very antithetical to that statement.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of people, like capitalism critics, with respect to automation. That's gonna exhaust late stage capitalism kind of problems. I think that like we were in a late stage capitalism sort of environment during the Gilded Age at the turn of the century,
Mm.
and reforming capitalism in the progressive era was really helpful into making it continue in a way that was more healthy than it was. So that's one of the reasons where I'm like, well, reforming capitalism is a way to go, but I don't know exactly how to reform it in a way that corrects for all these problems, because I don't think that hard socialist solutions are necessarily the option either. So this, like, my politics are all over the place with respect to that. So
Yeah, we usually just have, there's a word for that. We call it nuance.
I know, fuck.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
God damn it.
But for me, it seems though that if you have like, it's very hard to take a currently existing capitalistic system and move it to anything that's not just capitalism again. But
Yeah.
you can use socialistic policies in order to change some of these things. For instance, one socialistic
The
policy,
military.
one policy that we had, up one point in time was a 90% tax bracket for people who earned a certain wage, because if you're earning that certain wage, then realistically that tax bracket puts you to earning what, 27,000 a week. Like, oh dear God, if I had to live off of 27,000 a week, I don't know what I would do. I don't make that in a year.
There's I think you're talking about during the Eisenhower period of time.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, stuff. And during World War, under FDR as well, the taxes were extremely high, and people often point out that even under Reagan, taxes were much higher than they are now. So
yeah, Reagan, the conservative senpai.
Yeah, but the thing that's funny about Reagan is that people venerate Reagan because they have this image that he decreased spending and lowered taxes. But the reality is that, sure, there was some efforts that he made for lowering taxes. However, he increased spending. Like, that's something that a lot of people don't understand about Reagan. It's like the Reagan era is ruled by increases of government spending, mainly for military. So, like, military budget went skyrocketed under the Reagan era, and then it never went back down. Like, there became less of a need for military budgets, and because now a lot of it is kind of like, it's not a difficult case to make that the America spends too much money on its military, but it's just
really
because
not.
Cold War budgets never calmed the fuck down. Anywho,
we're also
we're like, where are we with respect to the weeds? I don't even think we can see the weeds from here.
Well, luckily we were actually at the end of the article. We were at the end of the article, because the end here is an italicized thing about, you should look at the Van Maren Show's new podcast. It's wonderful. They're on episode 24, Changing Culture. So yeah, we're at that point right now. So technically we are at the end of the article.
That's true. That's fair. Cool.
However, this does mean that me and you could definitely have like a hammered out on economics at some point.
I don't even so here's my thing. I'll talk like kind of like hip shooty about politics, but I do not I read a lot and I keep myself up to date, but I've gotten into a perspective on politics where I'm fully aware that I don't know what I don't know. So when we if you get into like economic conversations, I reached a weird threshold where I understood a lot of arguments for many different political theories on an economic side,
Mhm.
to the point where I understood that there was a lot that I didn't fucking know. So it's gotten to the point where like I can't, me commenting, any comment that I make on especially alternative politics is purely provisional.
We also have a $5 super chat from the Real Lock. Hey, from China, I have to wake up early to catch these.
Yay.
Woo!
Viewers from China. How are you getting around the firewall? Shit. Unless you're in Taiwan, I guess.
I will say that we're probably only going to be on air for another like 2-ish minutes. 2-ish at the best.
It's cool. I'm trying to wind it down a little bit because I made like a lot of political statements. Do you want me to plug? Can I plug me?
Yeah, go ahead and plug you.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure
hi.
there's fan art of me plugging you, but we're not talking about that right now.
Oh no, that's true. I think that there is actually, or me plugging you. But yeah, I'm Ocean Celt, back from being gone for a while. So I've just made a video and released it. And Cirrus actually did a guest video on my channel while I was gone as well, which was cool.
Did I?
But I think you did. Pretty sure you
I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, you were drunk. It's okay.
That must have been.
Yeah. There's we'll have to talk. But
there were some things that happened while you were asleep.
yeah, exactly. There was an adventure that took place. But the and it involves boogie boards. I don't know why, but it did. Anyway, I made a video recently on a concept that I call latent Christianity, that I think is really useful for discussions in the atheist community, especially lately, because I think that I've had a couple of conversations where I felt like that the concept was really relevant, and I want to like kind of raise a sort of like awareness on it, that like latent Christianity being like that Christianity that's in the back of your that influences you even after you've left Christianity, comes into play with more than just like bias towards monotheism in these conversations. So because like sometimes fundamentalism just like moves from one concept to another, which we've both seen happen, Cirrus.
Yeah, we're not going to get into details on that here. We're not, because we could, but we won't.
Could, but I don't care about spending a lot of time on drama. But
that said, I do hope.
So I'm just about to hit 2,000 subscribers. I'm really close.
You should really hit 2,000 subscribers today. That would be a good thing.
That would be cool if I can hit 2,000 subscribers today. That would be amazing.
That said,
that would take 60 subscribers thereabout. But,
I mean, we've got 165 in the chat.
Well, please, guys.
At least one will do it.
Yeah, we'll drop a link in the chat. Make it work. Anyway, that's my plug.
Yeah, go ahead and grab a link to your channel and drop it in the chat for people to see. That all said,
we'll do that.
Whilst Ocean is doing that thing, I am going to be getting ready to wind the stream down. And by winding down, I mean I'm going to very abruptly hit the end stream button. But you guys aren't going to know when I'm going to do it. So instead, I'm going to sit here and have a wonderful conversation with all of you, roughly about things that we've talked about today. We've covered a lot of stuff. G4, we've covered LifeSite news, Jonathan, we've covered a freaking conspiracy theorist author, two of them actually, technically. And I mean, it's not like